welcome back everybody. So here is the next topic of barrel maintenance. We've been asked, the video's here. We're going to take this barrel apart. We're going to take the Amburana wood chips out of it, and then we're going to clean it up and we will re-fire it. That way we can get a heavy toast in there and we can move on to the next batch. This is not for everybody. There are a specific group of people that do like to do this kind of maintenance. It's not necessary. You don't always have to take the wood chips out. You will start to lose that char, that normal barrel flavor that you get, but we can add wood chips to supplement for that. But if you do want this and you want to do it this way, I highly suggest that you keep all the rings together in the way that they came off and be very careful with it. So this guy's dried out already. This was our Amburana Blue Note barrel that we had not too long ago. This thing's so dry that the spigot's just going to come straight out of there. So what we'll do is, you can hear there are wood chips in there. We got some punches here. Let's see. Yep, see, that ring came off. That one's going to come off. We don't even actually have to have we may have to have it for that one. Maybe, yep. Let's go ahead and try that. So, small hammer, small punch. Try not to get the punch into the wood. We don't want to damage the staves. That's got some movement. I'm going to go another 180 over. You can see we're barely tapping it. Go 90. There it is. It's off. Okay, we've actually got a piece of wood out of there. So we want to be careful. We want to keep all of these rings in order and make sure that they go on the same way that they came off. What I'm going to do is make sure that those two do come off right there, right? We'll move those over. Those last top rings were the only thing keeping this thing together. At this point, we can actually start to pull some of these staves apart, some of the staves apart. The problem is we can't get them all the way apart, so let's just work our way around this guy. All right, we want to be very delicate at this point. This thing's like a set of Legos. It can be taken apart and go back together, but it is very difficult once you get it out of whack and out of line on how to put it back together. So I'm gonna put this one back on. This is the first one. We're just gonna come back around ever so slightly, tap this thing back on to try to get a good seal, so that way we don't drop this off. I don't want these things coming completely apart, but at this stage you can see we're getting a good bit of movement here. There it is. And it just falls in there. So that's going to be our piece for the front where the bung goes in. And let's go ahead, and since we have this apart, we're just going to take that outermost ring, or innermost ring, excuse me. We're going to come back together here. And we're just going to pop that thing on there. See if we can't send it home before we get these wood chips out. And there's all my Amburana wood chips. So now what I can do, this ring's starting to move again. So I'm just going to come back, work it back on. Again, be delicate with these staves. We don't want to scar them. I'm just going to come back. And there, you can kind of get to see the inside of that. Let's grab my phone. That way I can give you a little bit of light. Take a bristle brush. This is a very heavy bristle brush. And what we're going to do is we're going to clean this thing out I've actually got some wood chips still in there. But that's all right. For this, I'm going to start throwing some of these rings back on there. That way I can just make sure that I don't take this thing apart. And it's just going to be the 3 from the back side, right? Once we get done with this, we'll go back through the original process that we send you in the instructions. For those of you that don't have our barrels, what we recommend is that you take this after re-seasoning it, refinishing it. You take it, you get a pot of boiling hot water. In some cases, I'll set this thing in the pot of boiling hot water just to get the outside soaked. And then what I do is I will fill this up, let this soak in a little bit of hot water, pop that back in there, get it nice and sealed, and then fill this thing up with boiling hot water. That way we can get that rapid expansion and seal this thing up a little bit quicker. That way we don't have to wait that 24, 48, 72 hours. There's a lot of people that do that. There's not a need for it, right? So let's get this thing going. It's gonna be a little bit of noise, but what I'll do is I will actually speed up the process. That way you guys don't have to stick around and listen to all this garbage. So here we go. All right, so these things have such a great level of char inside of them. We're not gonna get rid of all of it, but as you can see, we've kind of cleaned that up a little bit. And what we'll redo is we will redo the char on both tops and then get that nice and crisp in there. So stay tuned, I'll be right back. All right, so let's look at charring this thing. We got a tank, we got a lighter. I'm gonna run it about right there, a little bit lower. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna char this thing, all right? So we'll start with this lid. And just remember, to get that nice and black. I do have some good ventilation here, so let's not worry about the table as I say that. Give me 1 second. All right, now that we've got a new base laid down, we're going to try this again. Start off nice and slow. When we turn that tank, we're going to start to get some of that fluid a little bit closer to this thing. So remember, we do want that char. Doesn't have to be crazy here. I would recommend using gloves. I've done this once or twice, so I'm comfortable without using them, but if this is your first time, wear your PPE. Wear glasses, wear goggles, wear gloves. All right, let's get inside this barrel. Kick it up now that we've got it inside the barrel. Keep it outside a little bit to where we can get that oxygen mix in there properly. Probably gonna have to rotate this thing. shut it down. It's off. Be careful with these things, guys. Yeah, this is probably going to be the better of the two. Holding it upside down like that, probably not going to be the best thing. Luckily, we're in a ventilated area. Maybe on the last leg of this can, just to be quite honest with you. Probably should have grabbed the flamethrower. And we're getting a nice red char in here, right? We're seeing that stave light up. We want to stick on those staves until we see some of that red char come in there. I'm going for a darker char in this. Darker than what came with it the first time. So, all right. All right, we set off the fire alarm. Stand with me. All right, so we had a well-ventilated area. It was so well-ventilated that we set off the fire alarm. So what I'm going to do now is we're now moving into setting up, and we are going to try to rechar this thing outside. Only instead of using that little guy that we had problems with, we are going to use a flamethrower. So, and we are going to try to recharge this thing. So, let's see if we woohoo! Let's turn this down a little. Let's see if we can't. Fire's back on. The wind is not in our favor. The wind is taking this away from us, guys. So, let's go ahead and cut her down a little bit. We don't want our igniter catching fire. So, the FTG, definitely not what we need to use to rechar our barrels. Was it fun? Absolutely. Was it dangerous? Nah, I only burned a little bit of hair off my hand, so I appreciate you guys. Stay tuned, we'll put this barrel back together. All right, after the flamethrower, we're back inside, and this is now what we're looking at. A beautifully charred barrel. Let's grab that flashlight again. This is gonna be that heavy char. So what we do from here is we're going to start putting all the rings back together, and then we're going to take it to that boiling pot of hot water and get this thing to reseal now that it's got a brand new char to it. So stay tuned and we will get the next batch round into this thing. I appreciate you guys. So I was putting this thing back together and I realized I wasn't recording, right? Figured that'd be an important part. So I've got the first 3 rings off, 2 of the 3 rings off down here. The bottom one's still on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit this in there. Got a nice pinch on it. It's not perfectly where I want it though. So that's where I'm actually going to use the bigger punch and rotate it a little bit to try to get it to be even with the way I want it to be. So, oh, that'll happen. This thing's still pretty hot from that flamethrower. So, let's just go ahead and grab that second ring, because we know we can get that on here. And what we've done is we've actually dipped down in the back closest to me. I'm going to use that punch, push down, lift up, right? And what we'll do, now we've got it on that base. Pull this ring back up, get it lined up perfectly. And then what I'm going to do is we'll start using a medium-sized punch. Start trying to seal this thing up. And we could see those indentions from originally where this ring landed. Once we get it back in the boiling hot water and we get this thing stretched out again, we can hammer these rings back on once again, right? This isn't the final time we're going to put these rings on here, so. Yeah, so this ring isn't all the way back down. If you'll notice, we can actually still see where it should have been, and it's not there. So because it's so hot, it has expanded. Put that third ring on, most inner. It's about where it should be. Well, that just jumped back up, didn't it? That one's still got a little bit of room to move as well. Remember to keep these things even. Time to give it a bath. All right, so now we've got a pot of water on the stove boiling, and we're back to our 1 liter barrel that's been put back together. We're going to set this thing inside of this boiling pot of water. Now, normally what I suggest is we just get some boiling hot water and pour it into the barrel, and we reseal it that way. But since we've taken this one apart, we definitely probably want to saturate inside and out. I've already ran it underwater, filled it up, had a couple of leaks on the faces of the barrel. So now we're going to move to fill this thing up. And the spigot is open. You can actually hear the air draining out of it as we fill it up with water. Let's just let this thing rapidly expand for a little while. So let this thing boil for about 5 minutes, give or take. Then what we'll do is we will remove it, shut it, and take some of this boiling hot water right here and put it back inside of the barrel in order to make sure that we hold that water for at least 24 hours. Once we get past that step, add your juice and back to it. Okay, we've got it out of there. We've got the new spigot installed. Our last one we should not have boiled. We actually had a failure on the seal right there. The knob came off, so I've got the new one installed. We've got it sitting here inside of a device that we can catch it, right? And don't tell the wife, but I'm gonna grab her ladle. I'm gonna take some of this really hot water, and we're gonna fill this thing up. We're gonna cheat the system a little bit. We just won't put the spigot back in there all the way. Say that, and there she goes. We should only need 1 or 2 ladles full. Filled all the way to the top. So from that point, we're going to want to install the bung. Grab that behind us, install that. Let this thing dry out, and once we come back, we'll make sure that we don't have any water on the outside, any of the faces of the barrel, and we should be in good shape. Thank you guys very much for taking the time to watch this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you need anything else, don't forget to comment below.